You ever notice how quiet can feel loud? How a neighborhood can look peaceful? But under all that stillness, there's something waiting. My name's David. If this story moves you, subscribe, share your thoughts in the comments. Let's make sure these voices are never forgotten. The Carter family thought they were escaping the noise. The riots, the sirens, the smashed glass and burning storefronts. They packed up their lives, their kids, their tired hope, and they came here, Eastside Detroit, summer of '69. It was in the suburbs, not exactly, just a plain old working class neighborhood with narrow streets, trimmed lawns, porch lights glowing in the evening. The kind of place where people kept to themselves, where the mailboxes leaned a little crooked and the dogs barked at everything it looked safe. Evelyn Carter, she stood on the porch that first evening, holding her youngest, little Leila, just 6 years old, braided hair swinging. Her husband, James, dragged boxes from the car, and their eldest, Marcus, tall for 17, carried his father's old tools like they weighed nothing. They didn't come looking for a fight. They didn't come to make a statement. They came to breathe, to find a place where their children could sleep through the night without hearing gunshots, to grow something that couldn't grow where they were. But sometimes peace ain't yours. To choose, the neighbors watched from behind curtains. Some waved, stiff and rehearsed. Some just stared. The Wilsons across the street, white couple, middle-aged. Yard neat as a pin, they smiled with their mouths, not their eyes. Mr. Harper, next door, old veteran, barely looked up from his newspaper. No slurs, no threats, not yet, just silence. But silence can bruise just as easy as words. The Carters unpacked. They painted the front door a bright red, even though James joked, "Might as well hang a flag that says we don't belong." Evelyn didn't laugh. She just kept painting. Red, bold, impossible to ignore. Marcus started school that fall. Smart kid, played basketball. Wanted to study engineering, maybe get out of Detroit for good. Leila chased fireflies in the yard. James took the bus to work at the plant. Evelyn kept house, watched the neighborhood, felt the quiet pressing and It wasn't like the riots. No smoke in the sky, no shattered glass underfoot. But make no mistake, the fire never really left. It just moved, quiet now, waiting. The Carter family didn't want trouble, but trouble always knows where to find you, and it had already found them. It started small. It always does. First, it was the mailbox, bent sideways one morning like someone kicked it. James straightened it, shrugged it off. Could have been the wind, he said, but they both knew better. Then came the stairs. Marcus walking home from school, basketball under his arm, and old Mr. Harper standing on his porch, eyes cold, following him down the block like he was some stranger in his own skin. Little things, forgotten newspaper deliveries, trash left scattered. Across their yard, the phone ringing late at night. Nobody on the other end, nobody saying a word, just breathing. See, it wasn't crosses burning on the lawn. Not yet. It was the slow, steady drip of being told you don't belong without anyone ever saying it plain. But Marcus, that boy had fire in him. He kept his head up, made on a roll, played varsity. His coach said he had a real shot at college, first one in the family to go. James was proud, even if he didn't say much. Evelyn, well, mothers know when the world is circling their child, quiet and dangerous, and the world was circling. The police car started showing up, parked down the block. Same one every time. White Ford, city crest on the side, engine idling like a threat. Officer Keller. They all learned his name quick. Keller never said much, just watched. Sunglasses reflecting their house. Fingers tapping the steering wheel, like he was waiting. Leila asked her mama, "Why's the police here so much?" Evelyn just hugged her tight, whispered, "Don't worry, baby." But inside, she worried plenty. One night, they found the rock. Through the front window, glass, everywhere. No note, no face to blame. Just that hard, ugly silence again. James called the police. They came, eventually, took a report, shrugged, said kids do stupid things. But James saw the look Keller gave him, the smirk, the warning. They passed the window, boarded it up for a while. Evelyn kept the curtains closed, but that didn't stop the feeling, the walls tightening around them, the edges of the neighborhood curling sharp. Marcus kept walking tall, but even he started watching over his shoulder. Funny thing about cracks in the walls, you can ignore them for a while, paint over them, pretend they're not there. But cracks spread, quiet at first, then all at once. And before the Carters even saw it coming, those cracks were about to tear everything apart. It was a Friday night, the kind of night where the air's heavy, thick with summer heat that won't let go. Street lights flickered, windows glowed soft yellow behind curtains pulled tight. The Carters sat at home, quiet, TV low, Evelyn folding laundry, James reading the paper. Marcus, he wasn't home yet. He'd stayed late at school, basketball tryouts. His last year, college scouts were coming soon. He had dreams bigger than this block, bigger than Detroit, bigger than the fear that followed him like a shadow. Evelyn checked the clock again. James told her to relax. Boy's 17. He ain't a child. But a mother knows when something feels wrong. A few blocks away, Marcus was walking fast, gym bag slung over his shoulder, hoodie pulled up, head down. He knew better than to linger along on these streets. The squad car pulled up beside him slow. That same white Ford, that same city crest. Keller. The window rolled down. Where you headed, boy? Marcus kept his voice steady. Home, Keller's. Eyes flicked to the gym bag. What you got in there? Basketball stuff. Mind showing me? Marcus hesitated. He didn't want no trouble, but he also knew. With some men, saying no was the trouble. So he unzipped the bag. Shoes, jersey, nothing more. Keller got out anyway. The street was quiet. Porch lights off. Curtains drawn. No witnesses. No protection. Words were exchanged. The kind that don't get written down in reports, accusations, thinly veiled threats. Marcus said enough to stand his ground, but not enough to cross the line. Except for men like Keller, that line moves whenever they want it to. The scuffle was fast. The gunshot, faster. By the time James and Evelyn heard the knock on their door, Marcus was already gone, laid out on the asphalt, blood pooling into the cracks of the pavement. Eyes wide, empty, staring up at the same stars he used to dream under. The police report read self-defense, said Marcus was aggressive, said he reached for something in his bag, but there was nothing in that bag but a basketball, and the weight of every black boy taught how dangerous it is to simply exist. The neighbors came out then, curious, whispering, some shaking their heads like they always knew this would happen. The Wilsons stayed behind their curtain. Harper folded his paper, closed his door. And the Carters, their world split wide open. Grief has a sound to it. It's not just crying. It's the hollow ache of a mother's knees hitting the floor, the shaking hands of a father gripping a doorway, trying not to fall. Apart. Is silence, and it's screaming, all wrapped into one. Marcus was 17, college-bound, smart, strong, gone. The news called it an unfortunate tragedy. Keller got a paid suspension. The cracks in the walls, they weren't cracks anymore. The walls had collapsed. The funeral was on a Thursday. Gray skies pressed low over the city. The kind of day where the clouds feel heavy with all the things people don't say out loud. Marcus's casket was small, too small for a boy who was supposed to be a man by now. They held the service at New Hope Baptist, just a few miles from the house. Folks packed the pews, family, classmates, neighbors, even the ones who never looked the Carters in the eye before. They came. Grief has a way of pulling people together, or making them realize how far apart they've been standing all along. Evelyn sat in the front row, eyes hollow, hands clenched tight in her lap. James sat beside her, shoulders stiff, jaw locked like concrete. Lila, her small hand curled into her mother's. Her wide eyes watched everything, too young to understand, but old enough to feel the weight of it. The preacher spoke of loss, of God's plan, of peace, but peace felt like a lie in that moment, because Marcus wasn't supposed to be in that box. He was supposed to be running courts, filling out college applications, cracking jokes at the dinner table. His basketball sat on the casket, scuffed and worn, his future buried beneath it. Outside, the street filled up, cameras, reporters, the kind that only show up after the damage is done, microphones shoved in faces, headlines already written. Another black boy, another police shooting, another grieving family. But something different stirred that day. It started with the neighbors, folks who never wanted to pick a side, the ones who thought silence would keep them safe. Mrs. Green from 3 doors down, she came, tears running down her cheeks. Mr. Harper, the old veteran, he stood at the back. No words, but for once, no newspaper to hide behind. Even the Wilsons watched from across the street as the crowd grew, because grief is contagious, and so is shame. When the service ended, the people poured outside. The street was lined with faces, black, white, young, old. And in the quiet that followed the final prayer, Evelyn stood up. She wasn't a woman who liked microphones. She wasn't one for speeches, but something inside her broke open. She stepped onto the church steps, voice soft at first, trembling, but steady. My son wasn't perfect, she said, but he was mine, and he was enough. The crowd held its breath. We didn't come here for trouble. We came here for peace, and look what peace got us. She looked at the cameras then, at the officers standing at the edge of the crowd, at the neighbors frozen in their doorways. Don't tell me to be quiet. Don't tell me to be patient. If my son could be shot walking home, none of us are safe. The words didn't shout. They didn't need to. They carried Dot down the block, across the city, through living rooms and radios and TV screens. The news ran it that night. A grieving mother, a broken family, a neighborhood waking up to the truth they'd been avoiding. The funeral ended, but something else, something raw and powerful, had just begun. The protests started small. They always do. A handful of folks, holding signs, candles flickering in the dusk, standing on that same sidewalk where Marcus used to shoot hoops with his friends, his jersey number scrawled in black letters, his face printed on posters like some lost child. Except this child wasn't lost. He was taken. Evelyn stood at the front, not because she wanted to, but because nobody else could carry that weight the way a mother can. James stayed back at first. Grief, it wraps around a man's pride like chains. But anger finds the cracks, and his cracks were getting wider by the day. Word spread quick, across Detroit, across state lines. Another boy dead, another badge protected. But this time, folks were tired of whispers, tired of fear hiding behind curtains. They marched down Jefferson Avenue, through the neighborhoods that never welcomed them, past the grocery stores and bus stops and brick walls covered in peeling flyers. Some spat at them, some yelled, "Go home." But this was their home. The news crews followed, cameras rolling, reporters feeding the same lines they always did. Tensions high, community divided, police under scrutiny, like it was all just a story playing out again. But it wasn't a story to the Carters. It was a scar, still bleeding. Officer Keller, he kept his job. Internal review, paid desk duty. The department called it standard procedure. James called it what it was, a damn slap in the face. But the thing about pain, you can't hold it inside forever. The protests swell. Hundreds now. Black, white, young, old. Even the Wilsons, stiff and uncomfortable, stood at the edges, watching, unsure which way the wind was blowing. Lila held her mama's hand, eyes wide, trying to understand a world that felt colder by the hour. They chanted Marcus's name over and over, until his name wasn't just a memory, it was a demand for justice, for change, for something more than quiet grief and closed curtains. Of course, the cops showed up, helmets, shields, batons tapping against their palms like they were itching for a reason. James stood beside Evelyn now. No more staying in the shadows. Keller was there too, eyes hidden behind mirrored sunglasses, the same smirk curling at the edges of his mouth. The street pulsed with tension. Sirens whined in the distance. Fingers twitched. Voices rose, but no one threw a rock. No one shattered glass. They stood their ground, and they made the city look, made the country look, because even when your voice shakes, even when your heart's breaking, sometimes standing still is the loudest thing you can do. And on that cracked, uneven sidewalk, where a 17-year-old boy's dreams were stolen, the people stood. Unmoving. Unbroken. Unfinished. Time has a way of softening edges, but it never really erases them. It's been 6 months since they buried Marcus. The protests, they came and went. News trucks packed up. Reporters moved on to the next tragedy. The world, it keeps spinning. Bills still pile up. Dishes still need washing. Life demands normal, even when normal feels impossible. But the Carters, they ain't the same. They never will be. Lila started sleeping with the light on. Evelyn, some nights, she lies awake, staring at the ceiling, hearing echoes of her son's laugh that ain't really there. James, he got quiet, real quiet. But in that silence, there's something steady, something solid. They stayed in that house, on that street, among neighbors who still crossed the road to avoid them, and others who finally learned how to look them in the eye. Officer Keller, he transferred some desk job across town. No charges, no trial, just faded headlines and quiet rumors. Justice, it didn't come wrapped in a courtroom verdict, but justice, it's stubborn. It shows up in the small places. The basketball court down the street, they renamed it Marcus Carter Memorial Court. His pictures painted across the backboard, his name stitched into jerseys. His story whispered to every kid dribbling a ball on cracked pavement, dreaming bigger than their zip code. And those dreams, they carry weight now, because every layup, every free throw, it's Defiance Dies saying, we're still here. Evelyn joined a committee, speaks at city council meetings now. Her voice ain't soft anymore. Her hands, they still shake sometimes, but they don't hide. James, he built a garden right in their front yard, collard greens, tomatoes, okra. Said if they were gonna stare, might as well give him something beautiful to look at. Life creeps back in, slow, uneven, unfinished. But the cracks in their walls, they patch them, not to forget, but to remind themselves. They survived. See, grief doesn't go away. It doesn't wrap itself up neat and tidy. It lingers. It hums under your skin. It reshapes you. But love does to. Love lingers. Love fights. Love plants itself in the soil and grows stubborn, wild, unstoppable. Marcus's story ain't just his anymore. It's the Carters. It's the kids shooting hoops under flickering streetlights. It's every family holding their breath when the sirens wail. It's every name chanted in the streets when the world looks away. And maybe justice didn't knock on their door with flashing lights and courtroom applause. But justice is patient. Justice is planting seeds. Even when the ground feels hard. Justice is staying. My name's David. If this story moves you, subscribe, share your thoughts in the comments. Let's make sure these voices, these lives, are never forgotten, because no matter how loud the world gets, love speaks louder. And we're still here.